All right, so we have come to the end, week 4 of the Birthing of a New Era series. I'm so excited that you all have joined me this afternoon. Kind of rainy here in Trinidad. I'm not sure what it's like on the other Caribbean islands, but I'm glad that you all tuned in to join me this afternoon for a final session, and we'll be discussing the topic of growth. So just a quick recap for what we would have been discussing over the last 3 weeks. We got started with Mr. Imran Richards of Barbados talking about purpose and our potential, understanding how we can move from being a yard fowl or common fowl, as some people understand it, to being like eagles and soaring and really using our full potential in life. And then in week 2, we heard from Ms. Arlene Sumeko of Venezuela, and we talked about how we can fuel our bodies, right? Fueling our bodies and giving ourselves the best chance at being able to train well and perform well on a daily basis, and to keep our immune systems healthy as we move through this new phase of life that we're in. And then last week, we heard from 2 people, Dr. Venice Richards and Coach Leah Stansel, as we explored the attributes of resilience and how we can improve our capacity to bounce back from difficulties and disruptions in life, which we've come to realize is just a part of life, of everyday life. So today we're going to continue on along the same thread, talking about growth this time, and everything really ties together to help us to really reframe our mindset and our perspective as we move forward in this new era, and to be able to become better, faster, stronger versions of ourselves, and continue to pursue the best version of you, nobody else but you. All right, so to get us started today, I have invited the founder of ID Pioneers, which I would have mentioned to you all earlier in the series. Her name is Lisette Chambers out of Jamaica, and the ID Pioneers organization is one that really empowers youth to be able to live out their purpose, their full purpose and potential in life. So I asked Lisette to join us today to do the opening prayer for us. So let's pray. Lisette, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sherelle. Good afternoon, everyone. It is such a pleasure being able to tune in today. I've only been able to tune into the first one, but I'm excited about what today is about. So let's pray. Father, we just thank you for today. We thank you for this moment in time, a moment in time that is of no surprise to you. COVID happening and us being somewhat beyond COVID and getting used to this new era and this new normal. Father, we thank you that you promised us that you have equipped us for every single experience that we go through in life. You promised that you will be with us. And so as we have this conversation today, we thank you for Sherelle and her life. We give you thanks just for her obedience in birthing this idea to support other athletes, just to be able to not just go through this season, but to grow through this season with the understanding of who they are and what God has placed on the inside of them. And as we have the conversation today around growth, and being equipped to navigate this new era, I pray that your presence will be here with us. You yourself will speak through Luke to us as you've created us for such a time as this. And may our lives be totally transformed. May we be inspired to understand that irrespective of what is happening in this season, that we have been equipped with everything within us as human beings to navigate this season successfully. We give you thanks in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Lisette. And I did mention before she prayed, so ID Pioneers has partnered with me to be able to bring this webinar series to you. This is the platform, ID Pioneers platform that I'm using to bring the webinar sessions to you. So again, thank you very much, Lisette, and thank you to ID Pioneers. So as we've been doing in the last couple of weeks, I just want to do a quick poll to be able to see who we have on the call today. So on your screen here in a second, you'll be seeing a question. If you can participate there and say if you are an athlete, parent, coach, or another interested participant joining today. Seeing some new faces, so some new names and some recurring ones. So I'm glad to see everybody on here today. All right, so I'm gonna close this up. We have mostly swimmers, which is great. Just share the results quickly. So we have just over 50% of you as swimmers on the call today. And one more question. Well, this one has two parts, so if you need to scroll, you can check that, but where are you tuning in from? And if you were on last week. Oh, a lot more Chinese in the house. All right. A lot more athletes and a lot more Chinese in the house today. So that's great. Okay, I'm gonna close that up if you didn't participate as yet. This is all anonymous. All right. Glad to see so many Trinidadians, but I do miss our Jamaicans, Bajans. There were some people from Mexico in the past few weeks. Great. So again, thank you all for being here, being a part of the journey. If this is your first time, welcome. And if you've been journeying for the past 4 weeks, I'm really glad that you have been here with me. So I want to introduce our final speaker for today. Really excited about this gentleman. His name is Mr. Luke Kwamina, and he is from Trinidad and Tobago, right here in Trinidad and Tobago. He's a dynamic international motivational speaker, and he really has a passion for youth and empowering youth. He is a John Maxwell leadership trainer and personal development coach. He's also an organizational development consultant and founder of the Legacy School of Leadership in Trinidad and Tobago. But the reason why I would have asked Luke to speak with us today is really because of the personal impact that he has on my life. And he really has a huge part to play in the person that I am today. I would have been in my early teens when I first heard him speak, and every time I know that he has to speak, I would always make sure I have paper and pen close by. And you would have heard me referring to the phrase, becoming the best version of you. And that was one message that I heard him speak on as a teenager. And since that point in my life, I have really been on, that's kind of been the starting point of a trajectory of growth for me, personal growth and personal development. So if you are a young person, adult, anybody puts in any plug one time, make sure you follow him on social media. And he's really passionate about helping people to discover their purpose, develop potential, and deploy gifts and their leadership capacity. So guys, swimmers, parents, coaches, everyone on the call today, welcome, Luke Kwamena. Thank you for being here today.
All right, Cheryl, do you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
All right, pretty excited. Thanks again for the opportunity to jump on here. This excites me a whole lot. One, it being youth. Two, people who are ready to work on themselves. They're competing against the you of yesterday. And athletes are close to my heart because, I think I used to be an athlete.
Yeah.
Played some national cricket there and, tried my hand at the soccer, and I did track as well. And so there's so much to learn on the field, right? But let's jump right into the information. And again, thanks for Lisette praying and opening. Just got a chance to meet her there. And I'm always intrigued that people will take in and of their personal time to give to others. They can't be fulfilled just by success. They must move to significance. And hats off to the organization for really being able to plug into others. So good day to all of you. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story so you know the messenger before you hear the message. And then I'll dig into 4 things that I want to really help you to be aware of. If you want, put it into action. And in this era, I'll show you some timeless principles that regardless of what era you live in, you can grow and you can hit your goals and you can accomplish anything. I grew up in Springville, Claxton Bay, very simple, central part of Trinidad. Some people might call it kind of country. Father, school teacher, mother, just like an office assistant. Father didn't have a car at that time. My mother would come home from a taxi. He would go down with his bicycle on the junction, pick her up. We had a 1-room house. The walls were galvanized, or what Jamaicans call zinc. Roof is zinc. The floor is lipe. Most of you wouldn't know what lipe is unless you're Indo-Trinidadian background, but that basically is no floor, no cast floor, no concrete, no board. It was basically dirt. Part of it was concrete, but most of it was dirt. And that's what I saw as a beginning. That's how the blueprint for life started. Very small, very limited. I wouldn't say I was unhappy, and I wouldn't say I knew that we were below average until I got invited to a birthday party by one of my friends. His father was a doctor. And when I went to that community, I realized all the houses had big gates. All the houses had driveways. All the houses had well-manicured yards. All the houses had either Dobermans or German Shepherds. All the houses had 2 cars. The front doors looked welcoming. When I went in, the walls had artwork and the colors matched in the house. So I realized when I went to that birthday party, hey, there's a big difference between where he lives and where I live. And a little bit about that has to deal with money. And so I did not understand that, and get this down, the things you cannot touch are more powerful than the things you can touch. The things you cannot hold are more powerful than the things you can hold. Belief is more powerful than the plane. Fear is more influential than a mansion. Doubt is more powerful than 1,000 men in an army. Love is more convincing than the highest tree that sits in the forest. The things that you cannot touch are more powerful than the things that you can touch. So I did not know that life really begins within. Everything the way you feel about how your nose is shaped starts from within. Your color. If you're offended by your color, or if you love your color, or if somebody hates you, whatever, all of those things on the outside starts with something on the inside. Look at how this whole thing is designed. You take a seed. Okay, you take the seed. The seed is comfortable. The seed is relaxing. The seed is, the seed is hanging out with all the rest of seeds. All of a sudden, what do? You take that seed from its comfort zone. You go put that seed in the earth, and you make that seed uncomfortable. But the discomfort is what brings out whatever is inside the seed. There is no harvest unless what is inside the seed comes out. So I'm trying to show you that you are no different than how everything else is. Pregnancy happens within. Ain't nobody being born from without. It happens from within. Seeds planted to bring a harvest. All those things are parallel truths. So while I was growing up, I did not know my life was shaped from the inside out. Now, if some of you get this, you will listen. They can't stop you. They cannot stop you. What are all of you doing before you start the race? You're talking to yourself. You're not talking to the person next to you. You're not talking to your coach. You're sending words back down inside of you. Why? Because you know there is something you could feel that can make you perform better. That feeling is something you can't touch, but it's more powerful than something you can. So whether it's fear or faith, before you hit the water, I promise you, the unseen thing can determine the result. So I did not know my blueprint for success was already being shaped by the home I grew up in, by the environment I grew up in. When I started to see all the kids being picked up from school, one kid, their father picked them up in this type of vehicle. Another kid, their father picked them up in this type of vehicle. And you start thinking that your self-worth was tied to how successful your parents were and what they drove and where they worked. I went to Presentation College, so the pressure was on. Everybody's father is a doctor, a dentist, an engineer, a lawyer. Look, what does your dad do? He's a pastor. He's a what? He's a pastor. He's a what? He's a pastor. Your father's a pastor? So y'all be taking all the offerings from the church. That's what y'all do. And you pick up everybody's offering and da-da-da. So now, my whole identity was built on fear. It was built on lack. Why? Because this is the environment I'm growing up in. Now, I'm going to show you that regardless of if you grew up in the 80s, you grew up in the 40s, you grew up in the 70s, or you grew up in the 2000s, I'm going to show you what you call timeless principles that will apply to growth regardless of what era you go up in. These are principles. They're universal. You can use them anywhere. And they're timeless. You can use them anytime. In the book, The Richest Man in Babylon, the richest man said to him, the same sun that was over your great-grandfather is the same sun that is over you. What he's trying to say is there are truths that will outlive times and eras. So the sun was like a recurring decimal. There are recurring truths that you can discover. And when you discover it, any time and any place you use them, they will work for you. So I grew up in that environment, and let me say this, sports is what allowed me to gain some confidence in life. Because one, I didn't like how I looked. I had these big space in my teeth. They used to tell me in primary school, they say, Luke, you suck a scratch bomb for a sweet teeth. No, a scratch bomb was the thing they throw around for like Christmas or Diwali or something. They say, Luke, your teeth plain, don't touch me. And, I used to hear all these things. So all of a sudden, you think the way you look has something to do with your worth and who you are. And primary school, at least in Trinidad, is brutal. Primary school is brutal. You don't want to have a forehead bigger than average. You don't want to have teeth that doesn't look like, they look face in front, right? You don't want, Trinidad is brutal. You can leave there with mental health issues in second year of school because the kids, their mouth and the teasing and all of that is very, very tough. So when I grew up, I realized that everybody likes to associate themselves with somebody who is considered like a winner. Because I didn't have enough money to buy these shoes for track. But because of where we live and there were no roads, I wanted to go by my grandmother to play. And my father used to say, you're not allowed to go by your grandmother to play at these times. So I still used to disobey, go play. And when I would see his car coming up the road, I would pelt through a track, run through, and reach back home before my father got home. So I didn't see myself as no runner. I never went to train. I never went to track, to school, no camp, no nothing, barefoot, running in a track. When I got to primary school, they had probably, let's say, the first sports day or whatever. Again, show up on the track barefoot. Hey, Luke, you want to run? Sure, I'll run. On the mark, set. Everybody who had their shoes, track, whatever. To me, it's like me running in the track to escape from my father. I finished the race. I remember the coach guy called Mr. Phillip. He says, Kwamina, do you do any type of training? I said, no, sir. He says, would you like to compete? I said, well, I don't know. It's just, I'll go. It went from there to zonals to nationals. All of a sudden, I realized that when I started to win, people like me. It's almost like people experience success through you. When they know you, they feel better about themselves because they feel like, I know somebody who is celebrated. I know somebody who people are cheering on. I know somebody who is a winner. And so I realized to win is better than to lose. Now you might say, Luke, that's not a deep truth. But let me say this. You have to strategize to win in life. You not get up and say, I have to win. You say, but I'm not in any competition. You are. Whether you are in the pool or not, whether you're in the gym or not, whether you're on the track or not, life is a competition. You know why? You ought to be better than who you were yesterday. You're not competing against others. You're competing at the last version of yourself. If you turn on your computer and there is an update that is ready, the first thing your computer tells you is, are you ready to do this update or do you want to leave it for later? How many of you say, I don't have time for this update, let me do it later? That's what a lot of people do with their personal growth. They're leaving for tomorrow the growth they should experience today. So I'm trying to say, let's no longer delay the upgrade. Let's no longer delay the update. Let's no longer delay growth. Let's make growth intentional. Here's the first pillar. To grow, to become more, to do more, to be a person in any era who will go from one level to the next, you have to understand the skills in building relationships. It's a skill. Do you know your mentor is going to be through a relationship? Hanging with the right group of winners is going to be through you learning to build relationships. Getting access to the right information is going to be coming down to you learning to build relationships. Getting access to sometimes the right schools, the right camps, all of that is going to come down to who you know, what circles you're in. I teach young people very, very simply how to pursue somebody you want to be like. You have to be a little bit bold. You have to write to them. Sometimes I read a book and I say, I'm going to get in touch with the author. Why? I want a little bit more. I want him to jump on one of my Zoom book clubs. I'm going to reach out to him and let him know not only did I read his book, but I know parts of his book better than him. I have studied in a way how to develop relationships. How I met the ex and the past Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago was knowing how to pursue relationships. Many of you in Trinidad or even in the Caribbean would have seen that I was able to have the blessed opportunity to speak at the past Prime Minister's funeral of Trinidad and Tobago. Luke, how did you get yourself into that thing? Why are you as a normal civilian speaking at that funeral for one of the greatest influencers that ever served in the national office of the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago? How did you as a normal citizen get yourself in there when the only people that spoke was a president, was a prime minister, and was the man's son. How did you do that? I got up one morning, and you know what I said? I am going to thank the prime minister for what he did in our country. Because everybody loved to complain. Everybody loved to say, I need a job, I need a this, I need a that. I say, no, I'm getting up this morning to encourage. I'm getting up this morning to thank. I'm getting up this morning to lift his head. I'm getting up this morning to say thank you as a young person. I want to say thank you for what you have done in our country, what you have displayed. So I said, Daddy, how to get in touch with the prime minister? He said, well, I don't know. But I know a lady who works for him. Ask her to see if somehow she can set up an appointment. So I listened. I have a relationship with my father. My father has a relationship with the lady. I call the lady because of who my father is. The lady listens. The lady says, well, let me see if I can do it. The lady talks to the prime minister. He wasn't the prime minister at the time, right? He was out of office. Lady speaks to him. He says, I'll give him 20 minutes if he could be here now. I get ready immediately. I call my friend. I said, would you go for me? I am nervous. I have a meeting with the past prime minister. He says, to do what? I said, to just tell him thank you. I planned out what I wanted to say. It was supposed to take me 10 minutes. I finished in a minute and a half, and I was looking at him like this. I got so nervous. He said, that's it? I said, yeah. He said, you don't want a job? No. He said, you don't want this? No. You don't want this? So all you did, you came quite here to tell me thank you. I said, yeah. Dressed back, and he said, And then we started to talk about education. Then we started. Guys, that one thank you led to 2 years of mentorship. One thank you led to 2 years of mentorship before Mr. Manning passed away. So you say, Luke, why were you in the funeral? Because 2 years before, I used a simple principle in relationship called gratitude. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for what you have done. For a young person like me, setting an example. Everybody loves to be appreciated. Learn the laws of building solid, genuine, authentic relationships. Learn to compliment as much as you learn to complain. How can I solve a problem for you? How could me? These are my skills. Give me a problem to solve for you, and I'm going to help you. You go ahead and tell somebody and influence that, and you see where you end up. Go ahead and find somebody, instead of asking for a handout, go say, these are my skills. This is what I can do. I'm here to solve one of your problems. And I don't care if it's cleaning up that dust in the corner of your office or if it's to write your next speech, whatever your skills are, just offer it. Building relationships will put you ahead of most skillful people who don't know how to build solid relationships. Watch this. Relationships are more important than accomplishments. Second, you want to be able to be on the cutting edge in any era. With your growth, you have to be equipped. So many people, after they finish school, they believe growth stops. Folks, schooling and education is different. Schooling is 4 walls, a curriculum, and a professor paying a tuition. You only do that for seasons of your life. But education, where you sit in front of new material, regardless if it's online or offline, regardless if it's the elder on the corner by a rum shop who has accomplished great things, but he knows how to plant corn. So you sit down because you have a piece of land and you want to plant some corn. So you sit down and you talk to him how to get the best corn in your land. You are being educated. Don't wait to sign up for school, get tuition, a tutor, a mentor. That is only seasonal in your life. Education is now. You are on here being educated. You take the notes, you go apply this, and I guarantee you, you're going to get some benefits for it. Equipping must be consistent in your life. Let me ask you this. How much of your paycheck goes to investing in you versus on you? Get this. When you do your hair, you invest in what? On you. When you buy the cap, you invest in what? On you. When you buy the red bottom shoe, you invest in what? On you. As a matter of fact, some of you are spending. We say, well, Luke, I have to look cute. Well, I'm telling you, the book is going to go much further than the wig. Why? Because the book goes in your head. The wig goes on your head. If you learn this information, you could buy 1,000 wigs. But if you buy this one wig with nothing else inside of there, no new thoughts, no new growth, no new levels in your thinking, you stay right there, pretty, cute, and stuck. That's what happens. Pretty, you're cute, but you're stuck. You want to know how to get going? You've got to get equipped. You want to do better in your finances? Do you know why some people don't do better in their finances? They just don't know. Some of them don't know, and the ones who know, not doing. So it's a matter of lack of knowledge and lack of application or lack of practice. You don't need no big degrees. Open the book. Apply what the book says, and you're going to get the results. You have to remain a student of life. What new did I learn today? What new did I learn tomorrow? What new did... You know, my wife, we were just having a conversation yesterday with a doctor. My wife says, oh, I love to have the, some type of latte, she called it out. But the latte is based on a type of root. A lot of people like to drink it in Trinidad. It's that yellow stuff. You all remember the name. Somebody remind me in the chat.
Turmeric.
It's
Turmeric.
turmeric. Turmeric latte, right? Sorry for this information. It feels like too much information. But my wife says when she had her time of month, she was bleeding very heavily, more than anything. So I'm having a normal tea conversation with this doctor, and I hear him saying he had to cancel a surgery with somebody because 2 weeks ago they had this turmeric tea or latte, whatever, and it thins the blood. I looked to my wife and I said, oh, that's what's going on with you. You've been having this golden tea you want to have every day, like if it's water, and you're thinning out your blood. We didn't know that. So guess what? That's what I learned new yesterday. Stop having all of these golden teas, because at the end of the month, we're still wondering if something's wrong. It's thinning your blood. If the heart surgeon will not do surgery for one tea for the month, he won't do surgery because you had one for the month. Jesse, he says, once people are drinking that, he said, you cannot do that surgery. They'll bleed out. So we understood something. We connected an activity, or what you may call a practice. We connected it with the result. So what do you do now? When you get that information, you can make a change. When people stop learning, they stop changing. So there are problems that you are occurring right now, and the reason the problem still exists is because you lack information. From the time we got the information, we could change the behavior. How determined are you to equip yourself? And let me say this, you have to be intentional. Put yourself in the class, put yourself in the group, put yourself in the book club, put yourself in the program. Pay to do it. Thirdly, attitude. And I want to speak more specifically to a mental attitude. A mental attitude. The mind has an attitude. Now, my father taught me a few things. For example, I had a guy who came here to cut his lawn. And when the guy came to cut his lawn, the guy's father said, hey, that's a pastor, you know, they have plenty money. Charge them big money for that. Don't charge nothing small. So when he gave my father the price, my father said, all right, I'm going to pay you, but I may not be able to afford you every month. Now, you know, the yard has to cut probably twice a month. This is rainy season. So because the price you gave me, I will pay you this today, but I can't keep paying you this price because your price is a little bit steep. So I'm going to give you an option. Take the money today or readjust your price, and I could take you every month for the year. The boy went back to his father. He said, don't take for no smart talk, you know. Don't let him convince you no smart talk. He have money. Give him the big price. The guy came back and he did not listen to his father. He adjusted his price. This boy did not pass primary school. This boy dropped out of whatever other program they did. He didn't get to go through regular secondary school. He dropped out of that program. This was about 7 years ago. This boy owns 3 houses, an apartment complex. He has contracts to do the highway. He has contracts to do other private sector properties. He has equipment. He has the ones that drive, do cutting of the lawn. Do you know all of that came out of him adjusting his price so that he will come and cut my father's lawn monthly, but while he was cutting the lawn, he got information from my father and it changed the way he thought, and it turning him into a millionaire. Watch this. He really was not paying. He really was not coming to cut the lawn. He was coming for a mental attitude change. What he received was not the pay to cut the yard. He got to interact with a mind that was already a millionaire. So now his conversations and the accountability and the coaching he received turned his mental attitude from what he was accustomed to by his father. You see, you have to be careful. The family you grew up in sometimes could be a limitation. I know we love our family. I know we care about them. But sometimes there's limited thinking in our family. And it shapes our mental attitude. So when you want abundance, your family has never experienced abundance. So what are they going to give you? Lack talk or lack counseling. So you need a new mental attitude for the future. Diversity of giftings, trying something new, equipping yourself as much as you can. It's a different mental approach. And let me say this, don't be afraid to outthink your family. You know what that means? Joseph was a boy who had a big dream. His brother said, who do you think you are, walking around here with this big dream? Oh, you the big dreamer. His father even says, what kind of dream is this? You dreaming like you want to become bigger than me. Do you know what? In years to come, Joseph's dream came to pass. Both his brothers and his father had to be fed by his own dream. Let me say this to you. Where you are is not who you are. Write that down. Where you are might be small right now. It mightn't be developed. But how you think about yourself will determine how large of a place you settle in. If you see yourself as a king, you'll never settle for where a peasant will live. If you see yourself as the head, you will never settle for where the tail will live. If you see yourself as above, you will never settle for what the beneath looks like. Where you are is not who you are. So stop thinking that your current results is who you are. No, your potential is great, but don't feel that your current performance is a true reflection of your present potential. You still have a lot that you will do, but our mental attitude, the lens, how we see ourselves, our positive thinking, our dreaming, our passion, our pursuit for more, that's what's going to determine if we're in a large place. So we got to be skillful in building relationships. Equipping must be consistent. Luke, help me with my mental attitude. How to see the opportunity and not complain about the challenge. How to be able, like Shakespeare says, men are like rivers, they seek the path of least resistance. But sometimes you have to skillfully with your mental attitude, not comment on certain things and use that energy to train. Mental attitude determines that. The last thing is your personal leadership. Do you know before you lead others, you have to lead yourself? This is what I call real growth. R, relationship. E, equipping. A, attitude. L, leadership. This is real growth. Before you start leading others, you have to start leading yourself. How many times you know in your mind it's time to train, but in your feelings, you don't want to? Feelings heading one direction, mental attitude heading one direction, physical body probably not wanting to move. So one of the authors that I read every day, he says, you know, bless the Lord, oh my soul, and all that is within me. You know, when I read that, I realized that there's a lot within me that needs leadership. My mind, my will, my intellect, my emotions, they all need me to put it together in purpose and say, this is what we're doing today. Because one of them want to do this, the next one want to do this, the feelings and the emotions feel like this, the physical body, I have to pull myself together and say, listen, today, this is what we're going to do. Everybody has to be on board. I have to lead myself. But one of the greatest return on leadership is how you help others develop. Do you know why I believe one of the biggest reasons I continue to grow is because I've taken the responsibility to help others grow. I don't care where you are in your journey, somebody sees where you are as a mountain peak. Some of you feel you're in the valley, but there are some valleys that are higher than other mountain peaks. So while you're in a valley, somebody's looking up at you and say, wait, if I could just be where she is, if I could just be where he is, and you feeling like you're in a valley, but they're watching your current success as it's a mountaintop, a peak. So don't believe that where you are is not something where it's not a place that you can't help somebody up. And here's what I know about God. When you start to serve from where you are without waiting to be perfect before you help somebody, remember this, done is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect. Start helping people from where you are, and that opens up the door for you going to higher places. I've learned that in life. Don't wait to learn everything to start to teach. Teach from your practice. What you already do well, help somebody to do that well. And that is now how the doors open up for you growing in the areas that you want to grow. So how do you have real success in this era? You got to get real skillful at relationship development and growth. Be very consistent with your personal equipping. Invest in yourself. Mental attitude. It's tough. I'm telling you, the terrain is tough. The waters are tough. Today, there's so many things that we have to deal with just on a social level. What's hitting the mind? You have to practice extreme focus on your goals. And then lastly, personal leadership. I definitely wanted to leave some room for questions. I know we just have about 10 more minutes. If there are any questions, you could shoot it for me. I'll check the chat, the messages, and let me see if I can answer some questions that I could probably be of any assistance to you further than what I have shared with you. So you could go ahead and shoot it. I don't know if anybody has the ability to unmute if you want to ask it. Audibly, you can, but you can also type it out and shoot those questions directly to me. All right, so, okay. What role? Let me go with the first one. What role can parents and coaches play in supporting the growth of the athletes? Well, number one is that it's very important for a parent or coach to play an active role in tangible and intangible investments. One of the things my father did for me is that he actually, the same way we put aside money to pay an electric bill, he put aside money to make sure I got access to coaches and programs. Like for speaking, my gift for my master's was to train with the American Speakers Training Camp, the same people who train the US presidents for communicating. So it wasn't a car, it wasn't shoes, it wasn't a suit. He rewarded me in line with my purpose. I like that because now that investment is still paying back returns today. So you have to study what they're doing enough to know what will take them to the next level. You know, sometimes we see Trinidad as, all right, we're just this little island. Look, jump on a plane and go somewhere. Well, we can't do that now, but jump on the plane. Travel, go and see somebody else perform. Just go and sit down there and watch how they hit the water and be like, sheesh. You know, feel that crowd, feel the noise, feel what it feels like. When I was playing cricket national, one of the biggest things for me to do was to go and listen and watch the West Indies play. Now, when you hear your school supporting, you're like, yeah, Kwame, whatever. It's different from when somebody hits a 4 in the Queen's Park Oval and it's full and you hear, I was like, whoa, can you imagine performing in front of this crowd? Can you imagine making your people happy? Could you imagine making your people fired up? So those are the things. Invest, you know, whether it's equipment and stuff, all of that is support. Also, you know, what Sherelle is doing here is very important, because invest in also things that help them develop internally. So if there's a conference that has to deal with goals, goals apply to the field and goals apply to the office. Goals apply everywhere. So invest in online personal development things that will help them to grow within, because like I told you, the things you can't touch are more powerful than the things that you could touch. So that's where they need to grow in those areas. Take an active role in investment. And obviously, you know, for me, I take practical things like putting up pictures and confessing the right things. I don't even play with words. Like I don't even joke around with words, because words are so important. If somebody tells my son, or I hear somebody around telling my kids, you know, the other day I heard somebody, he had paper in his mouth and somebody saying, "Are you a goat?" I said, no. That's not how I speak with them. You speak with your kids like that. You speak with your friends, but I do not compare. Nothing comes out of my mouth that is not directed at giving life. So one of the worst things to do is to encourage a child by getting back at them with words, because they're not doing something that you're pleased with. And that's why probably you use your words as attack back. No, always use your words to uplift. Always use your words to build up, right? Can you repeat those 4 points? Real growth comes from relationships. E, equipping. A, attitude. And L, leadership. So they must be skillful to build their relationships. They must understand that equipping is consistent in life. A, the mental attitude. And then L, their personal leadership. Real growth. All right? Give me any other questions. Let me see if I have any more. No other questions. I think that's about the size of it. It's 4:56. I have to run to another session pretty soon, but God bless each and every one of you. And, you know, let me say this before I leave. I would be lying to tell you that I am the person who I am without putting an emphasis on spiritual growth. That is the unseen power of a life. There's mental, there's emotional, there is the physical, but there's the spiritual. A lot of times people train physical. They work on the mind. Yes, I can do it, I could do it, I could. Mental. Emotional is very important, yeah. But I want to tell you this, all success has a spiritual side to it. And a big part of why I became core strength, my core strength came from the spiritual growth. When I started to read the truths of the scripture and the truths of the Bible, I realized the things say, I'm the head and not the tail. That means I couldn't be the tail of anything. Anything I do, I have to win. I took that in. I made those words. I said, listen, that means I'm the head. Anything you touch has to prosper. When you believe something like that, you can't do anything and just hang out at the base of it. No, I just grab them words. And I just say, you know what happened? If I by nature am the head and not the tail, above, not beneath first, then I cannot plan to lose. So I must train in a certain way. I must think in a certain way. I must plan in a certain way. I must hang out with a certain, you know, I remember getting rejected from trying out for the cricket team at 14. The same day I came home, my father telling me training in the yard. I said, no, trials is 1 year from today. My father said, so what you waiting to do? Wait for trials? Put all your pads, let's go out and think. He's trying to realize that failure is feedback. It just means the failure of that trial is giving you feedback that there are things that you need to work on or become stronger. So let's take the feedback from the failure, go work on these things and get strong. That's all, right? What advice would you give someone who wants to do motivational speaking like you in terms of studies? Speaking is, the technique is one thing, but the first thing is you really just need to have a heart to see people win. That's the first thing at core. You want to have a heart to see people win. Then two, listen to speakers who are already established doing an amazing job. Listen to Les Brown. Listen to Zig Ziglar. Listen to Eric Thomas. Listen to Anthony Robbins. Listen to, even Oprah, Tyler Perry. There are a lot of them who do exceptionally well. Denzel. There are a lot of good speakers on there. So let's listen to it. Because if you want to go there, listen to people who are there. And then you help you get there, right? So I listen to speaking almost, like if I'm not doing this, I have somebody speaking just in the background. Even in the toilet, I have a shower speaker. I can show you right here. I have a speaker that I just stick on the wall wherever I go. Play it from my phone, and I just leave that in the background because I have to master this. This one thing I do. There's something I have to do in this earth, and I'm going to work on it every day. That's how I work on it. And then there are sessions you can do to go and train. I teach you how to put the speech together, how to deliver, tonality, enunciation, pronunciation. All that technique stuff, that's not the major part of it. The big part of it, have a heart fit, build an environment fit, have a passion to really see people grow. And the technique, I would say, is 10%. 90% is the internal. I have a course that's coming out pretty soon. Stay close to me on Insta, any of the social media. But it's not just for public speaking, it's for inspirational speaking. I like more of that, where you speak to move people into action, not just for applause, right? That's the difference with me. It's not necessarily if people enjoy it or not. I want to hear change. Something clicked, something revealed. A light came on. I got broken. I felt that. I felt like you were talking to me in the room. I felt like you knew my story, and I made a change. That's what I want to hear. Understand what I mean? Yeah, that's about the size of it. Sherelle, back to you.
Thank you so much. I think that was all of the questions. Thank you. That was really, really packed. Of course, my page is filled with notes, and I'll have to listen to the recording. But I really appreciate your time, Luke, for being here with us and for sharing such really powerful nuggets for us to move into real growth in this era. So thank you very much again. I know you have to go soon. So what we are going to do next is just recap on the takeaway points. And the last thing before we go is I do have a few prizes to give out. But something that Luke would have said definitely would have confirmed what needs to happen next, where the next steps need to be. And this is not the end of it, this is the beginning. Like, it's called the birthing of a new era. So I do hope to be able to journey with a few of you, if not all of you, in the near future as we navigate the journey to where we want to be, who we want to become, and the best version of ourselves. So as I would have shared a couple of weeks ago, I do want to remind you to continue to think, spend some time, maybe get a pen and paper on your own and really begin to think about who you want to become in the future, in life in general. And not just the goals for your swimming career, because right now we would have had the external measurements of success removed. So we no longer have competitions in the near future or the opportunity to be able to break a record that somebody else set, or to earn a medal, or to go on a national team that we would have been working towards. So all of those external measurements of success have been removed because of the pandemic. But we do have the opportunity to invest in ourselves, as we could have said, to be able to evolve into the person that we need to be in order to achieve and to experience the things that we want in life. So I do encourage you to take some time to think about who it is, who you want to become, the attributes that you want to possess. And as you would have shared, there are many people that would have gone before us and that are ahead of where we want to be. So we can begin to look at them and to emulate some of their success traits. And I do hope that the information that would have been shared over the last 4 weeks, the recordings are on YouTube, so you'll be able to recap. But the information over the last 4 weeks will really serve as informational empowerment, to have the information that is needed, some of the information that is needed to help you to evolve into that person that you need to become in this new era. So I don't want to share all of the details today, but in the near future, we'll be sharing via social media and connecting with you, some of you through email, about the next steps and how we can continue to journey together towards the goals that we set for ourselves after today, and how we can move forward together. So stay tuned for that, for more details.